Welcome back. We are just a few hours into Election Day, but polls across the country are open for Americans to cast their ballots. Look at this number on your screen. This is the latest NBC News poll. It shows this tied race among likely voters nationwide, with 49% for Harris and 49% for Trump. But the real results will come as ballots are cast, of course, and numbers come in later today. We are so lucky. I'm so excited. We've got NBC News national political correspondent Steve Kornacki with us at the big board to walk us through what he's looking out for. Steve, first of all, I just have to say I feel like you'd be into this, too. Of course, in Dixville Notch, New Hampshire, 3-3, a tie. The first place that votes on Election Day in person. I mean, were you just like, duh?
Yeah, I mean, look, we got the scoreboard up and running. Yes, one little tiny, not even town in northern New Hampshire, 3-3. So there's your national count.
Tell us what you're keeping your eye on as we get started today.
Yes, so let's take a look here tonight when the polls start closing. We're about 7.5 hours away from the first poll close, but that's going to be a lot of Indiana, Kentucky, not expected to be competitive. Probably not going to learn much in that 6 o'clock hour, but 7 o'clock Eastern, that is when the action begins, and the numbers are going to come fast and furious out of Georgia, we believe. Why? Because Georgia has revamped the way they do these elections, at least the reporting of these elections, and it means essentially that about 80% of all the votes that are cast in Georgia, we're going to have the results of in the first hour between 7 and 8 p.m. All that'll be left after that is the people in Georgia who are going out to the polls today and voting today. But the vast majority of the vote in Georgia has already taken place through early voting, and all of that will be reported out in the first hour, at least under this new state law. So we could get a lot of clarity there early. North Carolina.
Steve, let me ask you, while you're still in Georgia, a quick question, because we know that's a swing state, kind of coin toss kind of thing. Does that mean at 80% we know, or because of who voted early, or that still, even though we've got 80% of the vote, and we don't know for a long time?
Yeah, I don't know if it'll be a long time. It depends. I mean, this could be razor thin, and it still could be days if it ends up being like a recount. But again, keep in mind that what you're getting in that 80% is the early vote. That's folks who voted by mail, folks who voted in person early. What's left is the Election Day vote. And what we typically see with the Election Day vote is it's more Republican friendly. So we may be in a situation where in that 80%, the Democrats are doing better than they end up doing. And the question will become, if the Democrats are ahead, does Trump overtake them with the same day?
Oh, sounds like some drama that we're going to see you at the board for. Okay, keep taking us through these poll closes.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, 7:30, North Carolina. It's going to be, I think, somewhat similar to Georgia, just in terms of the speed here. Again, the possibility there in the first couple hours to get most of the vote in reported out in North Carolina. 8 o'clock is when we start getting those big northern tier battlegrounds. There's an asterisk on Michigan because there's a couple of small counties that are in the central time zone, but basically the whole state closes at 8 p.m. We'll start seeing those results at 8 p.m. All of Pennsylvania closes at 8 p.m. And one thing to keep in mind there in Pennsylvania, there's a lot of mail-in voting in Pennsylvania, not as much as 4 years ago, but the way just about all the counties are going to do it in Pennsylvania is probably not long after 8 p.m. they're going to report out the results of the vote by mail in Pennsylvania. And again, that's a very Democratic-friendly group of votes, the mail-in votes in PA. So again, you can expect the Democrats, Harris, to put up her best numbers in Pennsylvania with what you see in that, say, 8 to 9 o'clock hour. And again, like Georgia, but probably even more dramatically, the story will be, okay, once you get through the mail, Trump's going to be behind. Can he catch up with the same day vote that then gets reported out? So that's, PA, keep that in mind. Arizona says 9, but the state law is Eastern. The state law is they got to wait an hour after that to report any numbers. So really in Arizona, 10 p.m. Eastern is when we'll get some numbers there. Wisconsin, a biggie, obviously, 9 p.m. Nevada is 10 o'clock. But again, keep in mind, that's when they close, 10 o'clock Eastern. But we've seen elections in the past where it's still a couple hours after that before you even get any results out of Nevada. So again, we may get clarity a little bit, maybe a lot from the East. If we're waiting on the West, that could be a while.
Steve, I know I've got to keep you on time because a lot of people want to talk to you today, but we do have to just look at the map while we've got you. Remind us electoral paths here. What's maybe the most likely? What's the easiest for each candidate?
Yeah, it's blank now, but I'll set it up like this because this is how both parties see the map with these 7 core battleground states. And keep in mind what we just said there. The action's going to begin in the Southeast, in Georgia and North Carolina. Now, North Carolina was a Trump state in 2020, the only battleground that Trump won in 2020. And Georgia was about a 12,000 vote difference. So look at it from this perspective. This is an if. I stress this is an if. But if Donald Trump wins the state, that he won in 2020, North Carolina, and if he can reverse that narrow loss in Georgia from 4 years ago and win Georgia, and again, not impossible if he does this, we would know it in the first few hours. Again, we say Pennsylvania closes at 8 o'clock. If Trump comes into Pennsylvania with these two in his pocket, then the stakes are enormous, because if Trump wins Pennsylvania on top of those two, he hits 270 on the dot. And you saw Kamala Harris finish her campaign in Philadelphia last night for good reason for their campaign. They want to block this. If they end up in that situation, they absolutely must win Pennsylvania. But if this were to happen and Harris were to win Pennsylvania, a path opens up for her pretty quickly, because if she could then just add Michigan and Wisconsin, two Biden states from 2020, take a look at that, she would suddenly hit 270. So there's all sorts of scenarios here. But I think that Pennsylvania, when the polls close and we get numbers there, that could pivot us dramatically one way or the other.
Steve, I love you. I've been waiting for somebody to just say, you start here and then you go here, and this is what we're looking for. So we're Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania. I love it. Steve, thank you. You have a long night ahead. We don't know when you're getting any sleep. I don't even need to ask you that. Thank you so much. We'll see you in a bit. We'll see you everywhere, all day, all night.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app, or follow us on social media.